I am Zoran. I've been here for, well, a very long time. Long enough to watch suns cool. And from this long view, I've seen your species run into one mystery after another. So today, let's look at one of your newest puzzles, these strange visitors that are now gracing your skies. Because what they reveal, it says as much about you as it does about the cosmos.
You know, your scholars love to say things like worms or metaphors. Me? I've learned that metaphors have teeth. The universe has this little trick it plays. The very symbols you dismiss as just stories often hold the most real, tangible power. It's easy to feel safe, isn't it? All tucked away behind the walls of your known physics. But the cosmos, it has a way of knocking.
From my perspective, the Great Void isn't empty at all. It's like a river. Incredibly vast, incredibly quiet, and it's always carrying these little whispers from shores you've never even dreamed of. I've watched this river flow since long before your sun was even a spark. And the stars you see at night, they aren't just balls of gas, not really. Think of them more like ancestral campfires for the entire galaxy. And just like any fire, every little cinder, every single spark, eventually drifts downstream.
And for eons, you humans have gotten very, very good at cataloging what I'd call the local crumbs. You know, the familiar stuff floating around in your own little cosmic neighborhood, your asteroids and your comets. But that galactic stream, it never stops flowing. And lately, it started to deliver something different, something new. This isn't your local debris. No, these are true travelers, things forged in the fires of completely different stars. We call them the fleeting visitors.
And look, the arrival of these objects, it's a huge deal. It's a truly momentous occasion. Because what you're seeing is the signature of a profound outsider, something from truly, deeply outside your tiny corner of the galaxy. And it's so important that we unpack what that really means.
So, how do we know they're from the outside? Well, the physics here is actually pretty simple, but the implications are just staggering. It all comes down to something called a hyperbolic trajectory. All that really means is an object is moving so incredibly fast that your sun's gravity can't grab it. It can't pull it into orbit. It's on a one-way trip just passing through. It's basically an undeniable mathematical proof, a cosmic passport, if you will, that says, I came from another star.
So you've got Oumuamua, Borisov, Atlas. A few notable visitors have been spotted. But here's the paradox, right? Your own models, your own calculations predict that your sky should be absolutely full of these interstellar wanderers, but you've only found a tiny handful. And the fact that the very few you have found are just so strange, well, that suggests your understanding might be missing a pretty fundamental piece of the puzzle.
And this brings us right to the heart of the matter, the real debate. You think you're arguing about things like gravity and ice and cometary tails. But what you're really debating are your own limitations. It's a clash between what I call the arrogance of calculation and the profound possibility of intention.
The distinction here is absolutely crucial. So let me put it this way. Are these things just random pebbles washed up on your cosmic shore? You know, simple accidents of geology? Or are they carved vessels, things that were intentionally built to sail the sea between the stars? Because think about it. One is just meaningless chaos. The other, well, the other implies a sender. And if there's a sender, that implies there might just be a message.
I mean, just consider the evidence for a moment. You've got Oumuamua, which sped up. It accelerated, but with no comet tail to explain the push. You've got Atlas, which showed up on an orbital plane that is so statistically unlikely it's almost laughable. And then there's the IM-1 meteor, which scattered these little fragments of an alloy that looks a lot like something you humans have created. Your science looks at all this and calls them anomalies. But when I look at them, I see a pattern. I call it intention.
But you know what? Evidence like this, it creates the biggest anomaly of all. And it's not up there in the sky, it's right here in the space between your ears. So, what happens? What does your mind actually do when it comes face to face with something that all your equations, all your models, say simply cannot be?
Well, the cosmos is a mirror. A huge shock to the system on the outside triggers a huge shock to the system on the inside. Your psychologists have a name for it. Cognitive dissonance. That's that uncomfortable, stressful feeling of trying to hold two completely contradictory ideas in your head at once. The ancient yogis, they called it a shaking of the mind stuff. Doesn't matter what you call it, the reaction is total.
And I mean your entire being responds. Your intuition, what some call the third eye, it strains to find a pattern, to see something clearly in all that fuzzy data. Your heart, well, your heart is given this incredible opportunity to maybe, just maybe, unify all of humanity against a mystery that is so much bigger than all your petty conflicts. And your mind, your crown, it just opens up to these vast, humbling, existential questions about your real place in all this.
So what does that journey actually look like? This leads us to the anatomy of an epiphany, because accepting a totally new reality isn't like flipping a switch. It's a process. It's a journey your brain actually has to take. Okay, so first comes resistance, right? That's the frantic buzzing of beta waves. Your busy, calculating mind desperately trying to shove this new, weird data into an old, comfortable box. But that doesn't work. So then the mind has to slow down. It has to enter these more creative, relaxed states of alpha and theta waves. It's a state of deep contemplation. And then, if you're lucky, you get a flash of gamma waves. That's the aha moment, that flash of profound insight where logic and intuition finally click together and form a brand new, much larger picture of reality. So what's the point of all this? Well, it means these visitors, they're so much more than just celestial events. It almost doesn't matter if they're comets or crafts. What they are catalysts. They show up to force your entire system from your brain waves all the way to your spirit, to expand, to grow beyond your comfortable, familiar, terrestrial boundaries.
So as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with a final thought, a meditation really. And it comes from one of your own visionaries, a man who really seemed to understand this cosmic river we've been talking about.
Now, he was talking about a picture of your own world seen from way out in the solar system, that pale blue dot. But his words have never, ever been more true than they are right now. Because these visitors, they challenge every single one of your posturings, every delusion of self-importance. They are a profound and maybe necessary exercise in humility.
And so I leave you with this. The next time a traveler from a distant star streaks across your sky, what are you going to choose to see? Will your mind just cling to the safety and comfort of calling it a simple rock? Or will you have the courage to see a key just waiting to unlock a much, much larger reality? The choice, as it always is yours.